Hello, everybody. With that, we are live today to talk about everything primaries. We are watching, of course, primary night results here in Virginia, Kentucky, and New York. Insurgents are taking on establishment-backed candidates in several key races in New York and Kentucky. We'll be giving you everything to watch for. But first tonight, I want to start an article with a little paper called the National Journal. It's written by Josh Kroshauer, and it is actually a very, very interesting article because it's headlined very, very disturbingly: "The End of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Revolution. 3 members of the Socialist Squad are facing competitive primaries against the centrist candidates. It's another sign the left's influence is waning in a Biden-led Democratic Party." It's written by Josh Kroshauer. And now that I realize it's behind a paywall, so we can't read it. But, guys, the headline's pretty worried. Like, it fades to black, and the squad members are looking very worried and concerned. Rashida Tlaib looking very sad. AOC looking downcast. And wait, didn't AOC have a primary tonight? How did she do? Let's see. In the New York's 14th district, she was taking on, Michelle Caruso-Cabrera again, the CNBC lady who raised $2 million, mostly from big Republicans, trying to get her out of town and criticizing her Amazon stance and all that stuff. How's she doing? Wait, has Dave Wasserman of the Cook Political Report already called the race for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with less than 1% reporting and a margin of 72.8 to 19.9%? Yes, she has. AOC is reelected. Let's start the show. Let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting election night primary coverage today, live from the home right here in the Spencer Walsh Radio Network News and Election Center. It's been a long time since we have said that. It's great to be back here with the first big major coronavirus primaries. Let's give you a run through of how things are faring. Ladies and gentlemen, we start at the very top with the Kentucky U.S. Senate Democratic primary. Amy McGrath is up right now with 48% of the precincts reporting, 45.5 to 35.2. Amy McGrath over McConnell. 73% reporting. Thomas Massey has defeated Todd McMurdy in a battle in the Kentucky 4th Congressional District Republican primary as who had less racist past. Looks like Massey has won that one. New York 9th District Congressional primary right now with less than 1% reporting. Yvette Clark, the incumbent, is up right now 55.7 to 22.3 over Adam Bunkadeko, with just 1% reporting. Also, in the 11th Congressional Republican primary, Nicole Malotakis is in the lead. In New York's 12th, Carolyn Maloney has a pretty solid lead now with just 1% reporting. Carolyn Maloney over Suraj Patel and Lauren Ashcraft, the two progressive in the race. Already told you about AOC. But in New York's 15th, the open seat race is a wild and unpredictable primary with a dozen candidates. And in Deep Blue District, the perceived frontrunner is Ruben Diaz Sr., who's opposed to abortion rights and said that the government of New York City is being controlled by the homosexual community. And right now, with less than 1% reporting, Richie Torres is in the lead as the first openly gay man to represent that district. And Richie Torres, 30.2 over Ruben Diaz, 15.3. And Michael Blake is in between at 18.2. And New York 16th, another big watch race as Elliot Engel facing one of the stiffest challenges of his decades-long career as Jamal Bowman rides a wave of progressive support. He is up with less than 1% reporting, 61.8 to 35.7%. New York 17th. That district has been a pretty interesting race. There's no returns yet in that one. It is my home district. We got Mondaire Jones, the progressive, against former Hillary Clinton associate and and former Republican David Carlucci and Evelyn Farkas. Evelyn Farkas is the Hillary Clinton associate. David Carlucci is the former Republican IDC in the New York State Senate. Right now, Dana Balter with 1% reporting is up over Francis Knoll. Dana Balter, the more progressive in that race. He tried to take on the GOP incumbent up in Syracuse, John Katko, and lost by 5 points in 2018. So right now he's in the catbird seat to take on John Katko in the primary. New York's 27th right now. It's a special election to fill a seat formerly held by Chris Collins. So right now, a Democrat is leading. In the Virginia 5th Congressional District primary, 4 Democrats are vying for the nomination for this newly competitive House seat after a local Republican ousted the incumbent Denver Riggleman, who made the fatal mistake of officiating a same-sex wedding. The new GOP candidate, Bob Good, has proven little fundraising attitude, so Cameron Webb feels pretty confident that he will be able to flip this, and they have managed to get the result for that as he has pretty much galvanized that. So the New York race that has attracted the most national attention, though by far, has been Jamal Bowman's race. Jamal Bowman's challenge from the left in the attempt to unseat Elliot Engel of New York's 16th, 3-decade incumbent. So that is a very, very good. That's probably the biggest interesting result right now. Also in Kentucky right now, Amy McGrath is up 45.5 to 35.2, at least in the New York Times share. But I feel like if we go to Politico right now, or another site, we would see a different story. I'll pull that up right now. But it is very, very interesting. New York and Kentucky voters, they are turning out for sure in the wake of this pandemic. In Louisville, there was an insane video of literally people coming out there trying to, like, literally banging on the glass door of Louisville City's one polling place because everything was shut down and nothing really was available to any of them. The door was locked like a little early, I think, and Booker obviously filed the legal injunction to make sure that everyone who was there was able to vote. So hopefully all their votes get counted. And of course, there's a lot of absentee ballots that came, especially before Booker really started to surge. Of course, Booker being the progressive in that race, he did surge especially with the wake of the killing of Breonna Taylor, who was very outspoken on that and kind of galvanized the progressive community and pushed his name up really up front. Right now, McGrath, at least with the Booker campaign, has apparently said that their own internal exit polling shows him up 82 to 16% over Amy McGrath, a absolute wipeout in Jefferson County. That's where Louisville is, and that's where none of the results have been reported yet. If we look at the full race results here, just by precinct, I'm no expert in everything in Kentucky, but Louisville, Jefferson County right now, Amy McGrath. 0 of the 623 precincts have reported. So it is, if I am unless I'm sorely mistaken, it is the by far largest county in Kentucky, Jefferson County, where Louisville is, and where also half of the African American population, if I remember correctly, live in Kentucky. So it's going to be a big deal and probably Booker's best spot. And if there's severe voter suppression there, that could be pretty devastating for Booker in terms of his ability to win. That's why I said just a few hours ago coming in that it was going to be probably his toughest primary to deal with right now. There's about 51% reporting, 45.0 to 36.0%. Right now is how it looks with Amy McGrath still leading. It's going to be interesting to see if when those 626 precincts start reporting in Jefferson County, how the race will change. There's a huge chunk in the east, the central eastern part of the state, Johnson County, Magoffin County, Lee County, and it's not a very populated area, so definitely a more rural area. So it'd be interesting to see if Booker, with his kind of progressive populist roots, can be able to pick up some votes over there. He was endorsed by Matt Jones, a sports talk radio host who's huge and a big progressive face in Kentucky, who was thinking about challenging Mitch McConnell, but ended up supporting Booker's challenge. Mike Broyher doesn't seem to be too much of a factor, gaining just 6.5% of the votes here with 51% reporting. And we have had a little bit of an issue there. But that seems to be how it is thus far. So, we're going to be following all of these race updates for you tonight, at least and we don't know. Honestly, we don't know when we're going to see the Louisville results. Some say as late as the June 30th, which is going to be next Tuesday, when they'll report the full results from all those big counties where there's big amounts of absentee ballots. And New York, we expect to see the same thing. So we could not see any major racist call tonight. I did kind of coming in just really expecting to find out about AOC, which we already have even before we went on the air. It looks like at least Dave Wasserman, the always friendly, always reliable, always early to call, thanks to someone who I support, Dave Wasserman on Twitter, @Redistrict. He's a great guy to follow because he's just like, I've seen enough. Yeah, it is really one of the biggest stuff that I think, really one of the most important things that we have seen before. A ways to go in mail-in ballots haven't been counted yet, but Dem establishment pick Amy McGrath up 46-35 over upstart Booker in KY Sen primary with 48% reporting. Breuer has, Mike Breuer, the other kind of quote-unquote progressive guy, has 6.6%. Yeah, it would be a big... And it'd be interesting to see. It's going to be a tough task challenge for either of them to beat Booker. But McGrath has just proven to be an awful candidate with some kind of like really big missteps. She's just not a natural politician. She's not a natural activist. She's not the kind of person who's going to stand up and like really inspire a crowd in the way Booker has. And I can definitely give you an example of that, like just what he does to a crowd. He's much more inspiring guy, I think, and especially in the wake of Breonna Taylor. So this is a speech, or so a little clip from the news report from Kentucky and the Senate candidate Charles Booker on some of the unnecessary escalation of law enforcement during protests. So this is really where he kind of gained his biggest momentum, which is after the wake of this Breonna Taylor protest. That's when he really kind of popped off and got big. So here is the news report where he's kind of talking about that.
Park. Heather, what are you hearing and seeing down there tonight?
Hey there, Doug. This is the third time this week that I've seen police officers here at Jefferson Square Park talking to protesters, mingling with protesters, and listening to these protesters. Just a moment ago, we actually saw a prayer circle with one police officer and 3 protesters, just a sign of unity that we are really happy to see. But State Representative Charles Booker pointing out some not so peaceful moments this week here about an hour ago. He talked about being tear gassed when he says the demonstration was calm, and he believes there's been some unnecessary escalation of law enforcement. Listen here to what he had to say.
And it met a breaking point with the National Guard being called in. That ain't right, y'all. That's right. And so I reached out to the governor. I've been on phone constantly with our mayor, and I elevated your voice in calling for the National Guard to step back.
Yeah, so he's been a big voice for the people out there in these protests, and you see behind him, it's, again, as we've seen the protests kind of playing out all over the country, it has not just been just African Americans. And you see, oh, well, it's sure great that he gets maybe a lot of African American support. He is African American after all. That could be the first assumption that people make, but I don't necessarily think that's the right assumption to make. I think it's a foolish one that kind of jumps way too quickly into kind of these old assumptions that aren't necessarily the most accurate or really kind of reflective of the situation in any way whatsoever. So yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about that and giving you the full story about it. And if we see, of course, any major news coming in, that will be first to your ears. And I do want to play you a little bit more of this Charles Booker, because people, I know we've heard a lot about him, but I've not seen enough of his videos. I do want to share them to you, and I think you definitely say he was still in this race. Yeah, there is a pretty good situation to see that before, but McGrath, the 5th most populated county in 45 to 36 right now, McGrath has the lead on Booker, but still with a long ways to go. Yeah, and Charles Booker actually just took Amy McGrath's home county, believe it or not, which is a fun little piece of information that we're giving to you.